hokey. You know, I just sort of made it up. It doesn't come with the aura of tarot, where if we did the tarot reading, you say, oh my God, because you would believe in it so much. This is obviously a game. And yet, at the same time, I could engage you in it. It starts to take on a certain kind of reality. Also, you're starting to see that the process here is similar to all of the, quote, real divination games, that there is some element in common here. I'm involving you in the process and the general archetypal structure of the divination games. Now, your assignment, you see, for the end of class is you are going to present, you're going to invent, and you're going to present to us your own divination game. You're going to create one. Maybe Parker Brothers will buy it, you know, for $1 million, and you'll be rich because you really tap into something. You have to sort of decide, what makes up life? Who am I? What is life? What is the world? What makes up the world? And then you will create your vision of it. You can start any way you want, but I am just going to walk you through very briefly. Okay. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to decide, well, how do I think about the world? You know, and maybe you like a round world. So you're thinking that you're going to have a round world, and how do you kind of, sort of a matter of aesthetics and so on, you say, well, I'm going to divide the world, I'm playing around here, and I want an aesthetic kind of thing because I'm really into the world as a geometrical, harmonious place and so on. And right here in the middle, I'm going to put, I would say the world is composed of the immanent, the transcendent God will stick right here in the middle. And up here is, I'm going to have clouds, and this area is going to represent the religious and spiritual imagination, even though we know that everything is spiritual. And here, I do a body to represent somehow the physicality of our being. And then we have, over here we have plants to represent the vegetable kingdom. And over here we have animals, and I'll draw a little cat to represent our animal siblings and our plant siblings. This is the manifest side of life in terms of organisms, and this is more the unmanifested side of life in terms of spiritual imagination. And here I'll put some lightning to represent spiritual forces, and I'll put a little heart here to represent not natural spiritual forces, but more etheric spiritual forces. And then over here in the middle, I think that social relations really is God in disguise, and so I will put some kind of a dance hall to represent social relationships and people dancing and so on and such. And really, we're really economic animals, and so I'm going to put a big bank here, $sign, to represent the economic mode of survival and whatnot. This is the world as I see it. And now, what are the major forces in the world? Who are the actors? How do I want to do this? But this is your personal statement here. This is your personal testimony. Now, I'm giving you a generic way in which I'm assuming that you make a board, although you wouldn't necessarily have to make a board. What do tea readings do? They have a cup, and that's the board, and the board is imagined onto the cup as certain areas in the cup. But in tarot, you have the spread, but that's more of a concept than any particular kind of board. But in some divination games, they actually have a board. One of the ones I remember seeing is a drum from Africa, and on the drum were painted this kind of thing. And then they placed on the drum the actors, which were different shaped bones. And then they started beating the drum. And after they beat it for a while, that was the synchronicity, shaking all those bones around and then where they landed. Okay, So then the next thing you'll be deciding is what are the major actors? And you may say, well, I feel, because of where I'm coming from, the major forces in this world are emotions. So I'm going to have the emotion of love here. And I think I'm going to get some little clay, and I will make little clay things. And this will be in the shape of a heart. And this will be the love. And I'll make a little love bead. And then, or maybe I get to a Monopoly set or some toys at the toy factory or something like that, and I find myself a little automobile because I know that the other major force in the world besides love is a desire for thrills and thrill-seeking and so on. And I think automobiles is thrill-seeking because I like to drive fast. So I'll get an automobile. And another, and we go through all the different things that I'm thinking are the major forces in the world. And then I have to decide, okay, I'm going to just toss these. I'll toss my little toys into the game board, and then where they land will be what actor is activating what particular area of life, but what will be the condition of it? Well, I might say right side up, upside down, or tipped over, or which way it's pointing to. Somebody worked with once in a divination system where they took colored waters and they had this map laid out, and then they introduced colored waters, and then where the waters came and they interacted with each other, that was their particular approach. You just start developing your own particular thing. Is it going to be a throw? One person worked with it where they closed their eyes and they did a painting, and it was just very fast, and then they'd open their eyes and look at what was done. In some divination systems, the diviner takes you by the hand and has you do something, and they look at what you've done. You can look at the toss of a die like the movement of a pencil. Both of them, you're expressing something. In one, maybe you have a little bit more potential control than in another. But that's a continuum rather than an either-or kind of thing. And the main point is that what you're doing here is you're expressing your worldview, and then your worldview is being reflected back to you when you do the divining, which is exactly the way it is that you project out your story about the way the world works, and then you use that as a teaching tool to learn, to come to learn that you are everything, that your energy, and you're finding your way through life, having the various compensatory synchronistic experiences to round out your experience of life, to open you up to more love, to break you out of certain set patterns, to help you grow. And so we'll be, and by creating our own divination system, we will be retracing the steps of history in a conscious way of how divination systems got born in the first place, by the injection of imagination or soul into the perception of the world and what makes it what it is. Okay.
I hope that you've enjoyed exploring how you might make up a divination game. We began with the town test, which was a very simple way of having you express your own vision of your imaginary world, your worldview. How do you see the cosmos? Of course, it's a mirror of yourself. It's a projection of what's inside comes outside. And this, of course, is something that's involved in divination. The reason that I emphasize so much this creative task of inventing your own divination game is it helps you get behind the curtains, as it were. Go backstage of the divination system that you'll be using. Like, for example, in the tarot, there are many different kinds of spreads. One of the things that's very common in the tarot spread, for example, is the cross of cards, representing a mandala of the types of balanced forces that are at work in a situation. Or you might have in a spread of cards a past, present, and future. These are expressions of a worldview. Now, you might think that these games are kind of silly and don't mean anything, even though we can kind of get into them. But that's fine because you start to realize that